2011 or 2012. All the orders you'll see remind providing the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call roll, please.
Ms. Lindemann, present. Ms. Acamino, present. Mr. Gazowski,
Present.
Ms. Gray Puglisi, present. Mr. Noonan,
Present.
Ms. Petrick, present, and Mr. Vickers.
Present. Item number 3. Oh, will you please read the statement?
I don't have this. Board President's Statement. The Centerland Board of Education meeting will be recorded by TV One. The recording will be played on selected days and times on the WOW and Comcast stations. In our district, we frequently recognize students, staff, and others for their accomplishments. If you do not wish to be recorded and viewed on TV Warren before the start of the meeting, please sign the form in the back of the room and notify the TV Warren videographer. And it's Jim today.
Thank you. I'd like to just make a quick comment to thank Mr. Roman and the media production class for also videotaping today. I hope you guys do a great job, which I know you will. Item number 3, approval of the agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Lindemann.
move approval of the agenda. Support.
Motion made by Ms. Lindemann, supported by Ms. Pacamino. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Item number 4, written communication. Ms. Puglisi.
I have one. This is to Eve Culp, Superintendent, Centerline Public Schools. Dear Superintendent Culp, on behalf of the City of Warren, I would like to thank you for allowing our TV Warren Communications Department to cover your school board meetings and many of your high school sporting events. As of June 30th, 2012, the Communications Department staff will no longer be taping any school board meetings. After this date, we encourage each district to make arrangements with your staff or students to broadcast with your district's own audio and video equipment. Our TV Warren staff will be delighted to advise you. We will, of course, continue to include your school board programs and meetings on our community and government channels. Programs may be delivered care of Jim Naherdiak, Program Director, Warren Community Center, Warren, Michigan. Our sporting event coverage will continue as normal. If your enrolled broadcast media students are interested in an internship with TV Warren, please contact me. Thank you for your cooperative efforts. Sincerely, Lark Simoleon, Director, Communications Department. In concurrence, James R. Fouts, Mayor, City of Warren.
Thank you. Item number 5, citizens on agenda items only. There we go. Moving on to section A, special presentations. Item number 6, Ms. Bolts.
Thank you, President Vickers. President Vickers has asked if the board would go down front to recognize large groups we have today. The Board of Education will recognize the Centerline High School swim team members for the following achievements, and these are outstanding achievements. So I would invite first girls swim team, all-state, 5th grade point average. And we will start with Abigail Bolt. We missed you, Abby. Brianne Cowley. Autumn L. Jessica Grauer. Fallon Halibu. Elizabeth Harris. Chelsea Jump. Abigail Lott. Caitlin Morgan. Madison Nelson. Andrea Oakley. Alexandria Preston. Wafa Ramlawi. Brittany Reddick. Caitlin Sand. Patricia Sewick. Aaron Stein. And Ashley Wen. We also, from the girls swim team, we have all-state 5th in the 100-yard backstroke, Andrea Oakley. Boys swim team, all-state 15th in the 100-yard backstroke, Joseph Henson. Also from the boys swim team, all-state academic, 4.237 grade point average, Joshua Beckman. Also from the girls varsity softball team, the Macomb Daily Athlete of the Week was Kayla Wilson, and Kayla is an IAM student for Center High.
Item number 7, special presentation, staff appreciation, Ms. Cole.
Thank you, President Vickers. The Board of Education will recognize the following Centerline Public School staff members as recipients of the Spring 2012 Collaborative Leadership Staff Appreciation Award. From Crothers Elementary, Nicole Davis, nominated by Jackie Hilden.
All know I like to talk, but this is going to be a little hard. This is what I wrote about Nicole. What makes a good teacher? I believe many aspects make a good teacher, not just the subject matter they are told to instruct. I believe there are many pivotal moments in a young person's life regarding their education. It happens around 3rd or 4th grade, middle school, high school, college, and when they start their own life's journey. My daughter Isabella is currently a 3rd grader at Crothers Elementary, and she is at one of those pivotal moments. She also has a wonderful teacher, Miss Nicole Davis. A teacher can connect with their students and help their students connect with each other. Many believe class size matters in what kind of instruction their child receives, but now more and more research shows that it's the quality of the teacher. Teachers inspire, engage, are sometimes social workers, and are role models. They know their students' interests, academic strengths, and emotional needs. Miss Davis has all these attributes. Miss Davis has a 3rd and 4th grade class and does a marvelous job at identifying each student's weaknesses and strengths and helps them to become the best they can be. She instills in them the love of learning. She makes learning fun so that not even the children know they are actually learning. She has helped Isabella tremendously. She gives her tasks in the morning. She has set up a computer math learning program to challenge her. And when Isabella was being bullied, she taught her how to deal with the situation. She is also very available to talk to parents about anything and to even help them out. When Isabella is older and she is asked what teacher influenced her or she has the fondest memories of, I can guarantee she will say Mrs. Davis. Therefore, I would like to nominate her for Staff Appreciation Award.
From Crothers Elementary, David Olszewski, nominated by Ms. Linda Finazzo.
Dave and I work together at Crothers Elementary. I'm a special education teacher, and Mr. Dave is a custodian there. And I really appreciate Mr. Dave because of the time he takes both with my students and with other students in the building who have difficulties either with behavior, academics, anything. Mr. Dave always takes the time to put in extra effort and make the children in my class always feel extra special. I have one student that Mr. Dave makes sure to be in the lunchroom when he goes into the lunchroom, and that's how we really got him acclimated from a center program into coming into a elementary building and going to lunch on his own. We have students with behavior issues who their reward for doing the right thing is time with Mr. Dave. So I really appreciate the fact that besides taking care of our school, that he goes above and beyond and really amplifies the fact that we are a team and we are all there for the kids. So that's why I really appreciate him.
Mrs. Stacy Smart, nominated by Lisa Wycheck.
Stacy Smart is not just a phenomenal first grade teacher, she is also the world's best teaching partner. In addition to providing an outstanding education for her class of Crothers students, she also worked tirelessly to ensure that my students continued to get a great education while I was out on maternity leave. Stacy and I worked closely together all year long to plan the best instruction for our students. And when I went out on leave, Stacy really went the extra mile to support my long-term guest teacher and maintain the continuity that we worked so hard to develop throughout the school year. She led my guest teacher in all of the weekly lesson planning and guided her through the maze of keeping the electronic gradebook. Beyond that, Stacy also provided daily support on all of those intangible issues that my binder full of guest teacher information could never have effectively conveyed. Issues like communicating with parents, dealing with classroom management, and connecting with those students who needed a boost. Though it was still not easy to leave my class, I knew that with all of Stacy's efforts and support of my guest teacher, the learning and positive environment would continue in my absence. I feel so lucky to have such a wonderful teaching partner.
This is Rosie Broughton, nominated by Mr. Greg Oak.
Okay, our office is a warm and inviting to visitors and to students, in large part due to Rosie's efforts. Many parents have commented that the office staff makes them feel welcome and that they really value this. Students have a trust with our office staff. They know that when they come down to the office, we're going to help them with whatever their needs are, and this is in large part due to Rosie as well. On a personal note, Rosie keeps me on track and goes out of her way to help any staff members with any need that they have. She has helped improve so many aspects of our school. She's always thinking of new ways that we can do better. I cannot imagine what my job would be like without her impact.
This is Chrissy Nyrans, also nominated by Mr. Greg Oak.
In addition to teaching kindergarten, Chrissy also serves as our Building Title I coordinator and is one of our school improvement co-chairs. She helps coordinate the school improvement process, creates most of the materials that we use to take us through the process and that our individual committees use to examine and revise our plan each year. As Building Title I coordinator, she manages the data from our intervention groups, oversees the placement of students in interventions, provides direction to the Title I paraprofessionals, and keeps me updated every step of the way. In addition to this, she's a fabulous kindergarten teacher who provides her students with rich activities and a warm classroom environment. On a personal note, last year I brought my son to Peck and he was in Chrissy's class. As a result of getting a good foundation in her class for kindergarten, he loves school so very much, is achieving at a very high level, and unfortunately has developed a love for MSU. Except for that last part, I cannot thank her enough for her positive contributions that she's made to Peck Elementary and also my son's education.
Our next nominee is Mrs. Barb Ballou, nominated by Mrs. Phyllis Kowalik and Ms. Sheila O'Kane.
We nominated Barb Ballou because she stepped in when
Mrs. Kowalik fell and broke her knee. And it's always a big concern when you have a guest teacher in a classroom, but when you have a long-term guest teacher, you want to make sure that kids are still reaching your academic goals, your behavioral goals, still contributing to the good of the whole. And Mrs. Ballou certainly stepped up to that plate. Students lost no ground in their curriculum. As soon as Mrs. Kowalik got back, all the students were tested, and everybody was ready to go.
She's telling my stuff.
Well, if any of you have ever seen Mrs. Kowalik in the classroom, she is a very energetic act to follow. So to step into her shoes and still meet the needs of all of our students as well as Mrs. Kowalik does is a very impressive thing as well. And that we wish Mrs. Ballou the very best and thank her so much for everything she did.
I was going to say, unlike Lisa, she had a planned pregnancy over there and was able to plan some things. On February 14th, Love Day, as I was walking into school in the morning, I fell down and broke my kneecap. So when I went to the doctors, the first thing they said was, oh, 3 to 4 weeks. And I thought, oh gosh, that's not going to be too bad. And right away I thought, oh, what are we going to do? And Barb was awesome. She didn't make it the very first week and a half, but she filled right in. And then she couldn't end my leave. I kept going in and they'd say, oh, it's doing good, but not good enough to return to kindergarten. And by Easter time she said, I already said to Kelly Herrick, I'm going to sub for her. Kelly's having a baby. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So, but as I went back, I checked the children, did the report cards, did conferences, and they didn't lose any ground. So she did excellent lesson planning, and she did a super job. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Kelly Cornett, nominated by Mrs. Lori Pamphilone.
Lori isn't here this evening, but I have the privilege of reading her letter. Kelly was nominated by Lori in the category of relationships. Kelly Cornett took over the position when another employee was out on extended sick leave. Since taking over, Kelly has formed a special bond with a special needs student. She works hard with the staff to meet his needs, and her caring and compassion are evident when observing the interaction between her and the student. And I can vouch for that because I've seen it firsthand. The student's mother has commented on several occasions on how much her child cares for Miss Kelly. Miss Kelly is constantly coming up with innovative ways to meet his needs and encourage participation in classroom activities. Thank you, Miss Kelly.
Next nominee is Mrs. Denise McMain, and Denise was nominated by Phyllis Kowalik and Sheila O'Kane.
This was my second half. When Barb Ballou couldn't finish my leave, then Denise did. And she's got great classroom management. She can control any classroom in the school. And she's always, every time she's in the building, she's walking around. She's got a play anytime, and she's coming around saying, is there something I can do for you? Is there anything I can do for you? She never sits down and puts her feet up. She's always hardworking, and Centerline should snatch her up because she's a great gal.
Not only does she have a strong pedagogy and can step into a tough classroom and pick up where someone else has left off, but she has a great communication skill with students, and we tap into it at every moment we can to get some support with behavior modification and reinforcement for our students. And she has some wonderful ideas that she contributes to our building daily. The guest teacher that comes to staff meetings, holy smokes, you know, principal's dream. So she does a phenomenal job in the classroom, but not only in the classroom, but in our entire building. She is definitely an asset to Rousseau Elementary and Center Line Public Schools. What I think is awesome is that she has a lot of family support here. So if her family could stand up and where's they? Oh, they're over here.
Also from Rousseau Elementary, we have Ron Otto, and Ron was nominated by Mrs. Denise McGraw.
I have the privilege of reading for Mr. Otto. He was nominated in the area of relationships by Mrs. McGraw. Ron has established relationships with staff by going the extra mile to make sure that our rooms and buildings stay clean and well attended. At any time you need anything, Ron makes sure that you get your needs met. There were times that I needed a table or a chair for my room, and Ron took the time to search the building and bring me a table and chair. Ron will also write the date on the board. He keeps the gym shoes in the quad lined up neatly, and will even take a tennis ball that he placed on the end of a stick to make sure the scuff marks are removed from the floor. I am very happy to have such a good custodian. Thank you.
Next nominee is Annette Piercy, nominated by Mrs. Denise McGraw.
I also have the privilege of reading for Annette. Category Relationships. Annette has gone an extra mile by reaching out to many students, staff, and parents. She will make sure that any issues that arise during the day are taken care of in a professional manner. Annette will listen and give advice to staff, students, and parents. She will guide them and help them with their problems, no matter what their problems or workload. Annette has made it very comfortable to work at Ruth. I am proud to say that I have had the pleasure of working with her for the past 5 years. There have been times when I have come to work with a heavy load on my mind. Annette seeks me out and makes sure I have made it through my day, and tomorrow is another day. Thanks.
This is Brenda Tippery, nominated by Lori Pamphilone.
I don't think Brenda's here tonight, but let me read this for her. Nominated by Lori Pamphilone in the area of relationships. Brenda Tippery is always going the extra mile to make her students feel welcome and safe. Currently, she has a special needs student in her class. She takes special care to individually address him, greet him, and meet his needs on a daily basis. She has also fostered a climate within her classroom in which the other students are also reaching out to this child to encourage him to participate and be a part of the classroom. In addition, Brenda makes sure all the environmental supports are in place, including visual and auditory supports, and adheres to the routine in which this child and the rest of the class thrive. I have never seen Brenda without a smile on her face, and anyone that walks into the classroom can see and feel how much she cares for each and every student.
Our next nominee is Judy Young, nominated by Denise McGraw.
Judy has gone the extra mile by reaching out to many students. She seeks students out who are at a disadvantage and makes sure she greets them by name and will often write to them to see how they are doing. She will also touch base with the teacher and let them know how the students were in the lunch line and what she noticed that they might need. She will check back many times to double check on those same students. I am proud to work with such a dedicated person.
From Wolf Middle School, we start with John Daly, who was nominated by Ron Howry, Sarah Maroney, and Wanda O'Hara.
That's just the names that you could read on the signing. There were many, many more. Mr. Daly is very important to the students that he assists with the problems that they encounter at home, at school, and in life. As our school social worker, Mr. Daly has the task of alleviating the effects of our students' problems to their learning. Every day that Mr. Daly is assigned to our building, he deals with a multitude of issues ranging from mild to mind-blowing. Even with all that is already asked of him, each time that I report the progress of one of our students is declining, he always says, "What can I do to help?" Because of his efforts outside the classroom, our students are more successful inside the classroom.
Next nominee, Mrs. Amy Maruka, nominated by Kieran Harrington and other Wolf staff members.
I need to let you know that everyone on Wolf staff signed this appreciation of Mrs. Maruka. Although she is the boss, she always listens to the advice and the ideas of her staff. She rarely mandates, but instead considers the ideas of others in making her decisions. Staff meetings are a collaborative effort where everyone's ideas are respected. Not since Sue Grifton have we had a principal of that caliber, and I have to tell you, I don't say that lightly. In short, she doesn't berate, she inspires. And I thought about this afterwards. That's the way we want our children treated also. So.
Next nominee from Wolf, Mrs. Jennifer Wickersham, and Jennifer has actually been nominated by Amber Basso and Stephanie Robleski and other Wolf staff members.
I'm Amber Basso. I've nominated Jennifer Wickersham for a Staff Appreciation Award for her invaluable relationships that she builds with all of those she comes in contact with. 11 years ago, I was hired into Centerline as a brand new teacher. I remember feeling unsure of myself, and Jennifer, who had been in the district for 5 years at this time, helped me feel like part of the Centerline family. We were both starting to work at Wolf at this time together, because she came from an elementary. And knowing that I was brand new, she invited me over to work with her group and said, "Don't worry, we'll get through this together." And I'll never forget that.
As I've spent the last 11 years working closely with Jennifer, I have seen the outstanding relationships she has not only with her colleagues, but students and parents as well. I discuss teaching strategies with Jennifer, and she truly is a leader in science education. She involves students in their learning, makes science fun, and makes sure she reaches all the students that walk through her door. Finally, I'm nominating Jennifer for the way she, as our school improvement chair, helped bring the entire staff together to work on school improvement. At times, school improvement can be a very daunting task, and we work together in a positive, productive climate. When it was time for Wolf to have our quality assurance review, the entire staff felt prepared. I am so lucky to call Jennifer Wickersham a colleague, but more importantly, a friend. Jennifer has touched so many lives during her 16 years as part of the Central Line family.
There's more?
I didn't know that Amber Basso had already nominated Jennifer when I did this, but this is on behalf of myself and the whole Wolf staff, and I mean the whole staff, custodians, office workers, they all signed the letter. The only one I didn't ask was Kevin, because I thought he wouldn't be able to keep a secret. Which is true. We nominated Jennifer for relationships and innovation, and we nominate her for this award because she's just one incredible woman. When we received word last Wednesday that Wolf Middle School was fully accredited, we realized that this would not have happened without Jennifer Wickersham. For months, she worked tirelessly toward this goal. Her expertise in every facet of school improvement and her ability to steer us in the right direction was a monumental achievement. Her constant encouragement resulted in our completing tasks we at first thought were impossible. Never shirking her duty as a mother, as a wife, as a science teacher, and as a science department head, she put in countless hours to achieve our Wolf goal. We truly admire and respect this phenomenal woman.
From Centerline High School, we have Lindsay Geverink, nominated by Crystal Cook.
I am honored, Lindsay, to be able to fill in for Crystal this evening. Lindsay was nominated in the area of relationships, and Ms. Cook wrote, Ms. Geverink assists in many classes, including those not in her comfort zone. She co-teaches 2 chemistry classes with me. Lindsay works with special education students, but also makes herself available to general education students, both during class and after school. She helps keep the class on track, and the students and I really appreciate her efforts. And I'd just like to add that Lindsay came to us a year ago, and she's learned fast, she does good work, and I appreciate all of her extra efforts. Thank you.
Next nominee is Mrs. Bonnie Hanshin, nominated by Mr. John Summerhill.
I am nominating Bonnie Hanshin for staff appreciation for the work she has done with the high school improvement plan. Bonnie's been a very important part of this process. I asked Bonnie to take on this massive responsibility last year, and she did not hesitate at all. She simply said that she was ready and willing. With the new responsibilities and expectations for public schools, the process is hard even for the most seasoned school improvement chair. Bonnie works as our dean of students, a chemistry teacher, and as a school leader. As a principal, it's hard to let such a big initiative be run by anyone else when it's a foundational element to the school. Bonnie has certainly gained my confidence with leading the school improvement process. It takes many great people to run a school, and Bonnie certainly is one of them. Thank you.
Our next nominee is Mr. Emil Rahani, and Emil was nominated by Mrs. Lucy Hall.
I'm going to second this one. I didn't nominate it, but I thought about doing it. Without Emil, many students would be absolutely lost. He goes above and beyond his expected job duties every day. At times, even registering students, helping with scheduling, attending IEPs, and contacting parents. If I did not have the assistance of Mr. Rahani, I would not be able to communicate with many of the ELL parents during the school day. Many parents would also choose not to come to parent-teacher conferences. When at work, Emil is focused on the education of the ELL students. Even refusing to check his email until he gets home is not to take time away from the students. There have also been many situations in which a phone call home was necessary, and Emil would make these calls on his own time, again, rather than disrupt the educational process. I could not imagine fulfilling my job requirements without him. And just to kind of piggyback that, a lot of people are passionate, but I've rarely seen anybody as passionate about the ELL students as Emil is. It's amazing, and I somehow feel really bad every time I meet with him because he always wants more, and I'm like, I want to give more, I want to give more. It's just amazing. If we had more people like you, the world would definitely be a better place. Thank you very much.
From Central Office, we have Teresa Ilya, nominated by Mrs. Sharon Maisel.
I'm a chicken, I can't do this. Sharon, you can stand up there.
This woman should be named Superwoman. I have seen her juggle our district's kitchens, staff, extra catering duties, and helping our less than fortunate families. Teresa makes sure that all requests for extra food, such as in-services, professional development seminars, or conferences, or special functions run by the district, are covered with their foods, as well as many times the setup. Teresa is always here very early in the morning and is here many nights after the administration building is almost cleared. She puts our students, our employees, and our district as a whole first on many instances. I know for a fact that she is going on vacation and worrying about putting in her food order for the building. She always makes sure that everything runs smoothly, even if she's not on site. I believe the most touching experience that I've had with Teresa was the first time that we did our Gleaners food drop. Teresa and I discussed becoming involved in the Gleaners food program. Teresa was able to work out many of the details, and Centerline qualified for a food drop once a month for pre-registered families. Our first food drop was approximately 100 families, and at the end she looked at me and said, "We did it," then started to cry. She said she couldn't describe the feeling she had been being able to help our families any way we could.
I'm gonna take it anyway.
We go a little out of order. The next one is Andrew McKinnon, nominated by Mrs. Sharon Maisel.
This is actually a group. It's not just Andrew, sorry. Not to steal your thunder, but also Eve Kultz, Lisa Montpass, and Cindy Schwartz. I know this might be unusual to nominate 4 people in one nomination, but I just want our district and our staff to know what exceptional human beings these 4 are. They work many hours into the night and definitely early in the morning. Their jobs are sometimes thankless jobs due to the decisions that they have to make for our district. Their doors are always open to everyone to discuss many things. I have seen them work with children, young adults, parents, and staff. When you talk to them and ask them, would you want to do something else short of winning the lotto, they all say they are extremely happy working with our students, staff, and our district. But if you won the lotto, you can be back. They put their hearts and soul into our district. When a child succeeds or one of our staff says thank you, that is all that takes them to put a smile on their face. They sacrifice many things for our district, and I just think that someone should say thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Hold the whole group right there.
It's them, right? You can read us. There you go.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you, Sharon. And from the Transportation and Maintenance, Donna Olszewski, nominated by Linda Finazzo.
We're not people. Face everybody. I nominated Donna because I'm not even sure how long we have worked together, but from when I taught special needs students in preschool, now I'm at Crothers, she has been one of the best bus drivers for our most vulnerable children. We work together to create plans when there's problems on the bus. I mean, they would have to be so out of compliance to get written up by Donna that it is unbelievable. She will come in, talk to me, what can we do, how can we fix it, or even just let me know, somebody was real weepy on the bus today, he slept the whole way in, he may need to lay down for a while, real grumpy, grandma passed away, whatever information I need, she always takes the time to give it to us so that we can adapt our day to meet the needs of the children, and I really appreciate it. The kids love Miss Donna, they're excited to see her, they love to talk to her, the parents love her. So again, like her husband, Mr. Dave, they're just a really important part of our team that helps our kids be successful.
We have one more, just to give you one more.
We had to kind of hide this one.
We had to hide this from Mrs. Niche, so she didn't
Oh.
make it on
Sandy.
Sandy Niche. Come on down. Sandy was nominated by Mrs. Sharon Maisel, and it was really hard to keep this out of Sandy's hands because she is so organized and so efficient, and she takes care of all of the reports before anybody else can get to them. So Sharon snuck this one in on you. In the areas of relationships and innovations, Sandy is one of a kind. We have many times sat together in workshops, meetings, and Power School updates until exhaustion hits or our brains have become fried to make sure that our student data runs as smoothly as it can and is as accurate as possible. Sandy goes above and beyond with many things that are close to her heart. She has worked the father-daughter dance, Relay for Life, Centerline High School movie nights, and many more functions on her own time. I have depended heavily on her for help with scheduling and Power School items, while never having to worry about them getting done or being done right. Sandy works along with me, making sure that our homeless students at the high school level are taken care of. She is always available for me on weekends and nights, and if I have a question or need help with something, she's there. Sandy has one care here, and that is our students. She goes way above the norm to make sure that they are taken care of or receive the help that they need. She is definitely an asset to our district, our staff, and our students, and has become a valuable and dear friend to me.
Apparently Sandy makes the certificates because there's not
Good job,
Take a few seconds if everybody wants to leave the building. I know that everybody's pretty busy, so we'll take a couple minutes Item number 8, Partners and Architect Performance. Ms. Cole.
Thank you, President Vickers. Mr. Michael Malone, Mr. David Gasson, and Mr. Les Gilbert will give a presentation to the Board of Education on an alternative approach to achieve the master plan vision with a focus on the highest priorities utilizing alternative funding.
As Mike's getting that started up, I'll just make a commentary on the introduction there. This is really not performance contract, it's an alternative funding mechanism. Well, performance is obviously part of the process. It's not traditionally viewed in the industry as performance-based or design-based.
Sorry. Okay, well, looks like we're up and running. All right, we got 4 key things that we'd like to talk to you today about. And the alternative funding approach, obviously we hit a roadblock with the last bond issue that we attempted to pass through the district. And there's other mechanisms out there to facilitate some improvements, so we're going to talk about one of those today. And we understand you've explored some other options as well, some performance contracting. And this is another avenue for you to look at. So we're here as your partner. We've been with you guys for a while now, and we're happy to share some information, and hopefully it's enlightening to you. So we're going to recap the master plan. Obviously, we've gone through that many times, but we just kind of want to touch on a few items there. We want to talk about maintaining our focus and possibly reprioritizing the needs. Discuss the alternative path as well as this alternative funding mechanism. So the first item is the master plan process recap. We started with the district's mission, the beliefs and parameters. That was a very energetic document that we had on your website. And that was kind of our impetus for starting our exploratory efforts with the community. So we started with this mission. We reached out to the community in several community forums. We discussed trends in 21st century learning. We explored successful examples around the country as well as in Michigan. We brainstormed together as a group with us, you, and the community, and we came up with a set of goals. And these goals are what guided the whole master plan vision, which we ended up with. So the next slide here is actually the 5 goals that we
established as a group, and these were led by the community. I'll just read them here real quick. Maximizing opportunities for academic excellence, retaining existing students and staff and families, as well as attracting new students and families to the district, accommodating the needs of all learners, optimize building efficiencies and reduce operational maintenance costs, and integrating sustainable design strategies and utilizing those as a teaching tool. All key elements, and I'm sure you want to maintain those as you move forward with any approach you take. Those 5 elements were the top rated ones of all the goals that were established by the community. Through the master plan process, we learned a few things. We learned that your facilities are in pretty good condition. You have some newer boilers, you have some newer things that you have done. You also have a lot of need, and these needs far exceed your ability to implement the changes necessary with the funds you currently have. And that's, back in, I think it was August of 2010, we presented some options as far as funding options, and there were bond issues and sinking funds and QZABs and things of that nature, and we kind of took the approach of a bond issue, attempting to bite off a big chunk as quickly as possible to kind of get to your end goal as soon as possible. Another item we learned is that we'll be required to invest in the facilities. I mean, you have to be proactive about your approach, and a reactionary methodology doesn't typically work. In the long term, I mean, it's good in a short-term scenario, but keeping that long-term goal in mind is kind of the approach we would like to take. And the identified needs of the entire master plan, we could not accomplish them even with a single bond issue. The last approach was really the first phase of this, implementing this vision. But it was a good start, and we have another approach today that's maybe a smaller part, but it's a start in the right direction.
As Mike mentioned there, the facilities have been well maintained. He mentioned because there's some newer items. The thing that we also saw was that you have a lot of old things too, but those were in good condition because they have been maintained well, and just some of them have kind of crept past their useful life, so I just wanted to add that in. Maintaining the focus and revisiting priorities. What we're looking at is we're shifting maybe the approach to achieve the master plan, but we're going to maintain focus on the goals and objectives. In doing that, we need to look at the needs and the prioritization of those needs that were established, and that's what we're proposing in this process. But we've done a lot of great work in terms of gaining knowledge and understanding of what's here in the district, and that was through the facility assessment, where we really got an in-depth, very thorough understanding of where things stand right now, and basically in what order they need to be addressed. And from that, we established needs. And that was further supported and confirmed through the community-defined vision. As part of the process, we want to maintain the proactive methodology that's already in place, reassess the path to the vision of the master plan, and reprioritize the immediate needs. And we have some suggestions along those lines right now. And these aren't new necessarily, but they really kind of hone in on what we saw as the immediate needs in the process of looking at facilities. Select re-roofing and repairs throughout the district. Go into that a little bit more detail in a minute. Energy efficient improvements. There's much to be done in that area. Select site security and circulation improvements. Select electrical infrastructure upgrades for technology as well as just power distribution throughout the facilities. Select asset preservation improvements, and one to just protect what you have and move it into the future without having to make a lot of changes to it, but again, just to protect the investment you have. And then again, keep our eye on the master plan vision with a particular focus on improving the learning environments. I mentioned that we are going with a little more detail with the roof replacement. This really kind of gets into the nuts and bolts stuff. We looked at an overall 5-year replacement plan of what you'd really be faced with. We scale that back to 3, but the vision really is to kind of give you a roadmap, and we chose 5 years. You have 9 facilities, about 550,000 or a little bit more than that square feet throughout the district. Your average age, as you know, is about 24.9 or almost 25 years for your roofs. They've performed extremely well, and again, that goes back to my first comment, which is you've maintained them. You've really squeezed out the life in these roofs. But there are some things you need to take care of immediately. And what we looked at was the immediate needs, and in red, saying that these are the things within the next 5 years you're going to have to address. So you have Crothers, Wolf Middle School partially, immediately, but within 5 years the full thing. Centerline High School, pretty much the whole thing, and administration the whole thing. I've also included an allowance, I'll call it, for these other buildings that maybe aren't going to be addressed in the next 5 years, but we know there's going to be something that you have to address, so there's a little bit money there to take care of that in this thinking. Just to point out, we have an alternative roofing cost there at the bottom. Right now, we can assess that the district has a standard of built-up roofs. Almost every roof in the district is, with the exception of one or partial of one. So we looked at that as a continuing methodology. An alternative to that is a single ply roof, which is what was applied to your new addition at the high school. It's a significantly less costly roof. Wears well. It's a 20-year roof versus a 25-year roof, which you have now, and that's kind of why you have the 24.9 years. We're also suggesting when you re-roof, take the opportunity to change the insulation. Right now you're at about R3, maybe an R10, somewhere in there varies, but the standard today is R20. So you can see R4 or 10, you're about doubling the insulation value in your roof and doing that, and that's an energy efficient strategy. So we're suggesting if you do the 4 that are outlined as immediate needs within the next 5 years, that's about a $50,000 savings projected in energy consumption savings. The next slide is more about energy savings, and it really looks particularly at the middle school and the high school and the lighting that's there and other mechanical such items that require electricity. We did a pretty exhaustive inventory of what you have. For the most part, both the middle school and the high school have newer technology, which is, we'll call it a T8 lamp, which is of today the right producing lamp level and uses moderately to low energy. But you also have the older technology, a T12 lamp, probably about half, somewhere in that area, which doesn't perform efficiently. So we're outlining that if you changed out those lamps throughout both schools, you'd be saving about $15,000 to $20,000 per year on energy savings. In addition to that, if we looked at the school energy management systems, runs the HVAC, lighting, other such things, you'd be able to produce a savings of about $40,000 a year if you applied that to both high school and middle school. You know, we incorporate CO2 sensors in the high school gyms and other such varying occupancy spaces within the school. We're saying there's about $5,000 in savings in energy consumption. Occupancy sensors for lighting in the high school and middle school, we're looking at saving about $5,000 a year if you implement those. As for re-roofing, as I mentioned already, for the areas that we outlined as what we believe is needed, you'd be saving that $50,000 a year. And the last item I have there is potential grants, reimbursements from utility companies and other such endorsers that will promote the energy savings that this approach will have for the district. So there'll be influx of grants and rebates along those lines. So overall, very conservatively, an approach focused on the immediate needs, energy efficient items, but really the needs. We're looking at about $125,000 projected savings per year. And that really is our kind of approach in the vacuum at this point on what it is we target as energy savings. There are other things, we could expand that to other schools too and increase the savings as a whole. But that was our focus, to look at middle school and high school. And again, that's going back to what the master plan vision was in terms of what the outlook long-term changes that could occur in the
district. Next slide, alternative path to the master plan. Our first assumption is that the vision that was established previously is the vision you want to keep, and maybe the vision needs to be tweaked, or maybe it is, you know, is fine the way it is. We're not sure, but we're assuming we're keeping that intact. I don't know. But in order to have a long-term plan, we need an end goal, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to. So, we would take smaller steps to get there instead of, maybe 2 large phases like the first approach we attempted to do. maybe there's 4 or 5 phases to get to this point. So this smaller sequence of steps is what we're proposing is implementing a QZAB bond, which is a Qualified Zone Academy bond, and we'll explain that in a little in the next slide. But the idea here is to keep the same goals and vision in mind. I mean, we want to keep that intact. I think there's a lot of time spent on it from the district and the community, and you know, just keep it in mind as you move forward. This alternative approach would reprioritize some of the needs as David had outlined, keeping the critical needs or pushing the critical needs forward, maybe a portion of this roof, a portion of that roof, items that could save the district money, which are, you know, some of the lighting retrofits or changes that David had mentioned. The energy savings aren't as substantial as maybe you would think. I mean, you have a fair amount of TAs in your buildings already. Your boilers are, you know, 6 or 7 years old at the high school and middle school, so you have some good equipment in place already. Implementation of energy saving strategies with immediate payback to lighting, and geared towards self-funded improvements. So in order to fund a mechanism such as this, the general fund would need to fund this project or this bond approach, which is a QZAB bond. The next slide, a QZAB bond is next to 0% interest. It's about a 0.5% is what we figured, and we have a sheet we can hand out here in a moment. This is administered through the Michigan Department of Education. The district is eligible for this type of funding. It requires a 35% free and reduced lunch mechanism, which you qualify for that. The bond application requires a board resolution, does not go to the public for vote. It requires a 10% private equity partnership, which we have a commitment from a private equity partner that would be willing to commit the 10% funding. And there's an educational component to this as well, which they would provide that service to you. Currently, Michigan is stating there's a $2 million maximum amount per building with a maximum of $5 million. But what I've heard is that they're a little lenient on this. If you need a little bit more, they'll probably consider it because there's a fair amount of money that's sitting there not touched. They actually have about $40 million available as of today from 2010 funds. They also have 2011 and 2012 funds. So there's money there that is definitely available to apply for.
Thank you, make a little statement on this.
Yep.
Because we're looking at, the important thing here is if you look in the bottom table, the right columns, basically what you're seeing on the far right is 0% interest down through the 13th year. And that occurs because under QZAB, the federal government will subsidize 4.55%. You will be at a 0% through that term, in which you'll get that subsidy and it will go directly toward your payment of the bond. So it offsets your costs in addition to what the energy savings.
So in order to plan something like this, let's pick we have 2 scenarios here, a $4 million and a $5 million QZAB bond. The $4 million over a 20-year maturity is an average debt service payment of about $210,000 a year. You would get the $4 million up front, and you have to actually sell the bonds within 6 months of getting it approved. And over the 20 years, the average is about $210,000. As Dave stated, the first 13 years or whatever they are there is about 0% interest with an average of about 0.5%. And this is current information. If you go to a $5 million, it's $262,000 a year commitment, which would need to be budgeted into a capital projects fund or something out of your general fund. But that's the magnitude of cost for something like this that gets you the first step. This money could be used for the energy improvements, other renovations, technology. You could buy equipment with it. You could do teacher training with it. There's a whole slew of items, and your bond counsel would be able to tell you better than I. But it's a good mechanism to get something jump-started.
And the private partnership contribution is on top of that. So if you got a $4 million bond, you'd have $400,000 or $4,400,000 is your overall project available funds.
So the next slide, the format of this bond, or what we would propose is that Partners in Architecture as well as Gilbert and Sons would remain as a single source for the district, providing the consultation, design, engineering, and construction management, just as we had proposed in the past. There would be an open bidding process, just like we had proposed in the past. And Les Gilbert is here, over here, if you have any questions about his approach. But I'm sure you recall on how they divide up their bid packages and encourage local participation and things of that nature. This process would maintain a collaborative approach, and you're in control. We're not in control. We're just implementing your needs and wishes.
One thing to go back, there's a really important item there I want to just emphasize is the open book process. That is, that you see all expenses and you're the decision maker on that. It wouldn't be from our side pushing an idea or an expense to meet a performance criteria. It would be a collaborative process, like Mike says. So you're in control of the decisions and how money is spent.
And the goal here is to have you get the full value of this initiative. It's a $4 million or $5 million bond. You're going to get a full value of improvements and service, and there's no fuzzy math or funny math. It is what it is. You see every nickel that's spent, and Les's process is completely open book.
In respect to the open book process, the information that I have received over the last year or two on some of these proactive energy saving proposals, guarantee this and guarantee that, is that there are so many erroneous factors. Just look this past winter, the fuel that everybody saved because we had a mild winter. These things fluctuate. In order to provide guarantees, something's got to be, everybody knows that guarantees are purchased in one form or another. And our approach is that all these things are going to be open book. You're going to know exactly what your costs are before anything is implemented. And we are going to provide competitive approach to all of the equipment that might be substituted. Too many times these other approaches are prioritized and you buy certain specific equipment and somebody has a great capitalization or profit on it. We're going to make sure that you get the profit and it's not going to go into some manufacturer.
So what happens after this QZAB bond? Let's say we get this bond, we implement the changes. Maybe it's a 2-year project that does the first phase or does the project in 2 phases over 2 summers. What happens after that? Well, hopefully we'll have all the critical things done that your roofs and things that are really potentially going to impact the general fund if you don't plan for something. We would facilitate the next step, which could be a sinking fund project in the future. 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road. But laying out this pathway to get to this ultimate vision. Could be a bond issue. There could be another funding mechanism in 3 years. We don't know. But what we're told is if these QZAB dollars aren't used, the federal government will think that it's really not a successful program, and they'll pull it back, and they will discontinue the program potentially. So who knows? And the QZAB handout, actually David did hand it out already. So next steps, and we're trying to keep this quick, sorry. If you like the idea, there's a lot of details, a lot of things to consider and discuss and debate. But we would think that there would need to be some interaction between the administration, the board, us, whomever else you need to involve in reprioritizing or at least reevaluating the critical needs from the previous facility assessment, narrowing down the priorities, outlining a potential schedule. How soon could this be accomplished? It's a relatively simple process. It's about a 2-week approval process through the state of Michigan. But you have to have your private partner in place and things of that nature. But once the priorities were narrowed, we would need to do a detailed cost estimate to determine, okay, here's what you can get for $5 million. Yep, that suits your needs, great. Or not. If it's a little over, we could attempt to get more through the state. And then we would update the projected energy savings. And we did a rough calculation. It's pretty accurate based on the counts that we did, but are you going to replace every light that we suggested in that analysis? Probably, because there's a really good payback on those. But that's yet to be determined. So after that is done, a QZAB application would be assembled, submitted to the state, actually approved by the board, and then submitted to the state. You would get a private partner commitment, which we would provide the resource for that. There's details that have to get worked out with whatever mechanism you choose. And then establish the method of payment out of the general fund, which Cindy tells me there's a surplus, so that's good. So that concludes the presentation. Sorry for being so worried, and if there's any questions, we'll take those.
Are there any questions from the board?
Through the chair. Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Just was going to refer to page 5, what we've learned, master plan process recap. The first highlighted part that says facilities have been maintained well with the funds that were available. So just to kind of reiterate, because there's been discussion, throughout the process of the bond issue, and so in your professional opinion, that's what you saw after going through your evaluation of our facilities?
Correct. We feel the facilities are in pretty good shape, or really good shape actually, for the monies that were available for capital improvements or maintenance of things of that nature. I mean, you've gotten an extremely amount of life out of these roofs that they could have easily gone the other way and failed 3, 4, 5 years ago. But with the funds you had available, you've done a great job.
And in consideration of the age of the facility, that makes a big difference. Well, and there were a number of things pointed out as issues or deficiencies, but they were relative to code compliance, accessibility, and those sorts of things. It wasn't all about the condition of it because of wear and tear or how long it might take. For the most part, Mike's right, your buildings are well maintained. Surprisingly, we've been to a lot of districts, obviously, Centerline schools are generally not above the norm.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And I recall, going through the facility assessment, walking through the buildings, you acknowledged several of your staff members, and I witnessed a custodian on her hands and knees scrubbing these carpets in the early childhood center. I couldn't believe it, really. I mean, it was wonderful to see, and that was, a year and a half ago, but you have a lot of pride in your staff, so that's good.
You can see from the recognition that's given to your staff at the school, we have a lot of concern for you. I've been building schools for 49 years. I've seen a lot of buildings. I see the evolution of equipment, what's been serviced and what hasn't been. There's no question. Your staff has all concerns for the buildings and maintaining the best it can be. But there are certain components that are virtually outstanding life. Roofs, for example. When those roofs were installed, they were installed on the presumption of a 20-year life cycle on that roof system. Nearly most roof systems will exceed their normal recommended life cycle by at least 20%, sometimes more. If a single ply ADPM is a 15-year roof, first you get stretched out to 20 with a little maintenance and TLC. These roofs you have here, they're getting 25 years. They're getting to the point where an asphalt-based material or bitumen evaporates from the solar effect of the sun. Some of them have coated, some of them haven't been, but they're getting to the point where all of a sudden you don't want to have a major failure. That's going to make you be forced to change it. One advantage that you may have today, and what we'd like to position or approval to make some cores of these roofs. All the reports we have now kind of give us an indication of age, but not what you have inherently. And we've been told that you might have anywhere between an R3 to an R10 roof insulation. It's quite conceivable that most of that roofing does not have to be removed to apply a new system on it. It's a tremendous amount of additional expense to tear off all of that roofing and put a whole new system on it. You have a greater potential of creating debris falling and other disturbances in the existing building if you have to do that. You don't have to do it if you have an R10, and you implement another R20, you have a full R30, you have a greater potential of energy savings in that system. Typically today, if you're starting out with a brand new building, your greatest return on your investment is an R20. Beyond that, the term of your recap for the investment is much higher. We want to take all of these things into consideration, make a final determination on your energy savings that can be implemented for your improve that.
I appreciate the clarification. And our staff is very dedicated, and I agree with that 100%. My point was more that as far as this governing body, the Board of Education and Administration in the past, I appreciated that comment in there, is that we haven't been negligent. We've done the best we can do with the resources, trying to be financially prudent, and so I appreciate seeing that in your documentation. Also on page 9, I had some follow-up questions, and I will get with you via email or whatever, regarding occupancy lighting. Right, so like when you leave the room, the light automatically switches off. Okay, and I had some, but I'm not going to I'll email you or contact you and certainly follow up. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ms. Bacamino. Mr. Noonan.
Yes, I've heard what you had to say, and I appreciate your thoughts about how we would be able to potentially achieve greater profit capture off of energy savings. For instance, you're not, manufacturers of boilers and stuff, so you don't have to try to sell your products in order to increase your profitability. I think that's where that comes in. You can pick what's best for each situation from whichever manufacturer.
We're going to maintain competition in the industry, which we always do. We do not privatize any piece of equipment.
And from prior discussions with you, I understand that you have more commitment to making sure that whatever solutions you supply actually come through for us than probably other. So yeah, we have a lot of reasons why we went with you. We wanted to go with you on bond. And I believe that a major factor is going to be the ability to find a private partner commitment. Is that something where you know for a fact that that there's someone who would cough up that money, because we have to have that in order to go forward.
I have a verbal commitment right now.
That's very good to know. Thank you.
That's all the questions from the board.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If we are a qualifying district for that QZAB, and say that we want $5 million, we want to go for that. Before we make a commitment, is there any way that we can get bottom line what's going to come out of our general fund?
Yeah.
There is, for sure. Okay.
The numbers you have are like right now today.
Okay.
Based on 5 million or 4 million, that's real.
Those won't change.
Well, no, they shouldn't change, but that's based on right today and based on that interest rate and that government subsidized percentage, which that could change.
To clarify, maybe another component to that is the projected savings will get narrowed down or refined even better than it is now. If that's the side of the question we're asking. The interest rate, the bond costs are exactly right. That's what it is today. But the projected savings could be improved. This is a conservative projection on what you can save if you implement these improvements. So bond cost stays the same, projections get better, therefore your general fund expense gets less.
Any more questions from the board? Seeing none, I'd like to thank you for your time for the presentation tonight, and Ms. Combs and everybody else will be speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Item number 9, Wolf Middle School 21 thing for the 21st century computer classes, grade 6 and 8. Ms.
Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Mrs. Amy Maruka, our Wolf principal, will present information on the 21 things for the 21st century computer classes for grades 6 through 8 to be taught at Wolf Middle School.
Good evening. I will keep this very brief. The REMC Association of Michigan put together a curriculum for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade computer classes, and they're calling it the 21 Things. They put together the 21 Things for administrators, 21 Things for teachers, and 21 Things for students. This curriculum is absolutely the most cutting-edge computer curriculum you're going to find, and it is heavily supported by our intermediate school district. The whole program is an online program with a lot of freeware, and the units are built right online. In order to qualify to use the program, we had to send one person to be trained in the program this year, which we've done. It was Bill Traxel. That doesn't mean he would have to be the sole teacher of those classes. He could train other teachers to teach it, but he's learning how to use the units. The 21 things literally are 21 things. The first 7 are taught in 6th grade, next 7 taught in 7th grade, next 7 are taught in 8th grade. The nice thing is that currently we have keyboarding at the 6th grade, and we have a computer class that's required at the 7th grade, and then we have some electives in the 8th grade kids can take or not. This would shift some of the electives. It wouldn't add staff, but it would shift the electives so that the students had 2 computer classes in 6th grade, a keyboarding in the first 21 things, the second 7 of the 21 things in 7th grade, and then the third set of 7 things in the 8th grade, while there would still be other computer electives available. This curriculum meets the NET standards, which we have to prove. That's the National Education Technology Standards for students. It's completely aligned with those standards. This is almost what I like to call a no-brainer. It's really beautiful. All the work is done for us. Jen Parker Moore from our ISD worked, she's part of REMC, and if you know anything about Jennifer, anything she touches is quality, and I mean, this is excellent curriculum. So we're asking for your approval for these classes tonight. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the board? I have one. How many times had this come before the curriculum council before getting to us?
Just once. I took it to Curriculum Council 2 months ago. They approved it, and now it's in front of you.
Okay, I see on the enclosure C that they will have video editing, presentations, software to create and edit videos.
Right.
Will this, or is this in line with anything that we have at the high school now with the media productions classes? Will that correspond with it?
It actually will. Right now at the middle school, the closest thing, or kind of our feeder program into Mr. Roman's program, is the AV team, which is the kids that do the announcements. This would ready a lot more students who didn't necessarily get to be on the AV team, but they would take this class, might discover, wow, I'm interested in that, and might open up, a door for them that they didn't even know was there. So yes, it would follow beautifully.
Thank you. Any more questions from the board? None, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Section B, action items. Item number 10, approval of the regular minutes, monthly minutes for the meeting in April 23rd, 2012.
Mr. President,
Ms. Puglisi.
make any necessary corrections and move approval of the minutes.
Support. Discussion.
Motion made by Ms. Puglisi, supported by Ms. Petrick. Discussion, Ms. Palomino.
I believe it's just a typo, but just for clarification, it's actually, because it was board comments, which is actually in the notes, but seventh bullet point down, I had indicated the sentence, it was an emotional meeting, layoffs much longer than expected. Hope we can bring these teachers back through attrition, and implore teachers that are considering retiring to please look at that strongly. But then I think we just need, what I indicated is we as a board and administration need to look at all areas, especially those that don't touch students. There are no sacred items, but that last sentence is kind of, I don't know if that's a typo maybe, or it's not really even did you see where I'm going?
I didn't know what you said.
Well, it says Board of Education members, and I don't think it's not even a sentence. It just needs to be corrected. Yeah. I would like my statements reflected correctly.
Can you just write what you...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I write as fast.
No. It's not a criticism, but if someone looks at the minutes, I feel it needs to be correct. That's all. Yep, no problem. Yes.
Thank you. The motion was made by Ms. Petrick, supported by Ms. Petrick.
I know what you meant.
Ms. Puglisi made the
Good
motion,
now.
seconded by Ms. Petrick. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. I'm gonna separate the two. Item number 11, accounts payable. Ms. Combs.
Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Questions are to be directed to me by 3 p.m. on Friday in order to allow time for review prior to the meeting. You'll see that there were questions, and the answers to those questions are in your packet.
Mr. President,
Mr. Noonan.
move that accounts payable for April 2012 be approved and bills paid as indicated.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Noonan, supported by Ms. Bacamino. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Item number 12, purchasing cards. Ms. Combs.
Thank you, President Vickers. Questions on specific items, again, should be directed to me by 3 p.m. on Friday to allow time for review prior to the meeting. This particular packet for the purchasing cards included many months from here on out. Every time you'll get just for this month.
Mr. President,
Ms. Lynn.
move that the purchasing cards for July 2011 through April 2012 be approved as indicated.
Support.
Motion made by Ms. Lindeman, supported by Ms. Puglisi. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Item number 13, monthly financial report. Ms. Combs. As part of the district's fiscal accountability program, the administration prepares financial report each month for review by the Board of Education. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Puglisi.
move that the board acknowledge receipt of the April 2012 financial report.
Support.
Motion made by Ms. Puglisi, supported by Ms. Petrick. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Item number 14, food service agreement renewal with East Detroit Schools. In January 2011, Centerline and Warmwoods Public Schools entered into an agreement with East Detroit Schools to perform certain services for East Detroit's food service programs on a fee-based structure for the 2010-11 school year.
Mr. President,
Mr. Noonan.
move for approval of the food service agreement renewal with East Detroit Public Schools for 2012-2013.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Noonan, supported by Ms. Bacamino. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Item number 15, approval of lunch prices increases for the 2012-13 school year. As a result of the new Healthy Hungry Free Kids Act of 2010, Section 205, Equity in School Lunch Meal Pricings, districts are required to charge at least the same amount for paid meals as being reimbursed for the free meals from the National School Lunch Program.
Mr. President,
Ms. Petrick.
move that the lunch price increases identified in Closure 6 from 2012-2013 school year be approved.
Support.
Motion made by Ms. Petrick, supported by Mr. Noonan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Item number 16, approval of the 2012 graduating class from Centerline High School. Closure 7 has a recommended list of graduates for 2012 from Centerline High School.
Mr. President,
Ms. Lindeman.
move that the list of 2012 graduates from Centerline High School be approved with the stipulation that all requirements set forth by the Board of Education and Administration be fulfilled. Support.
Motion made by Ms. Lindeman, supported by Ms. Petrick. Discussion. Mr. Kozowski.
Yes, Steve, I was just wondering how many students, if you know, that should have graduated this year, except for those who might have relocated, aren't graduating.
I do not know, but I can get that information.
And also, do you mind sharing, and will you share that information, some of the steps that administration might have taken as an example in the case to try to help those students out? You don't do that for every student, but maybe give an example.
Any more questions? Motion was made by Ms. Lindeman, supported by Ms. Petrick. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Item number 17, Centerline Public Schools new computer equipment approval. The bid opening for the new computer program was held on May 10th, 2012. A summary of the bid proposals and the funding recommendations was sent to the Board of Education prior to today's meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Lindeman,
move for approval of the bid proposal from K-12 Systems for new computer equipment. Support.
motion made by Ms. Lindeman, supported by Ms.
Ray.
Puglisi. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Item number 18, superintendent's contract. Presentation of the superintendent's contract from July 1, 2012 to June 30th, 2017.
Mr. President,
Mr. Noonan.
move that the new 5-year contract of employment for the superintendent of schools be approved.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Noonan, supported by Ms. Lindeman.
Well, we're gonna have discussion.
Discussion, Ms. Bacamino.
Well, and I've made my concerns clear, and I know I've had contact with Mr. Vickers, and it's a little uncomfortable actually, because this is not in any way, shape, or form a job performance issue. But in my opinion, there's a lot of variables that can happen in 5 years. And, you know, unfortunately, we're in a financial state that we're in. And I think that, and historically, and Mr. Gazowski can either concur or correct me if I'm mistaken, but historically, here in Centerline, we haven't offered a 5-year contract. And we've had excellent superintendents. And he was a great superintendent. But we're the governing body as the school board. And if we tie our hands to a 5-year contract, and there's so many other variables that can happen, in my opinion, it's fiscally irresponsible. So, and I'm sure everyone's gonna have their discussion, and if we can amend this to say a 2-year contract, my vote would be reflected differently. So when discussion is finished, I'm willing to make a motion to amend that to 2 years. So, and I'll let everyone have their opportunity.
Any more discussion? Thank you, Ms. Bacamino.
Yes, Mr. Vickers.
Mr. Guzowski.
First of all, I want to make clear that when I received this packet, it's probably as surprised as any time in my public service here, because in all the prior years, I don't ever recall getting something as significant with no highlighting of changes made or even suggested to the board, no information in terms of what the changes were and why the rationale for any changes were. This is pretty significant, and given the contracts, if we weren't attentive to the information, to trying to recall or clarify what the previous issues were, then we'd be at a loss and just blindly approving what it was presented before us. Those changes should have all been presented by the committee and or administration to us, delineating specifically, highlighting what those changes were, and not only the superintendent's contract, but all the other contracts. So really to have a chance to look at what the changes were and to consider them seriously, as we should have. I guess as Shannon said, the history obviously of Centerline has always been 3 years, whether it's Bill Young, well, since I'm aware, Bill Young, or Dr. Volbaum for a number of years, or Dr. Pritchett. And this really isn't a issue regarding who the superintendent is, it's regarding what's appropriate. I strongly believe we approved for our current superintendent not that long ago. We approved her in this case, contract of 1.5 years. We then went to 3 years, I believe the last contract, and now we're being asked all of a sudden to go to 5 years, which I find, again, astounding. That's way too long. 1 year will automatically be added on to a contract the following year as the year expires, because I think it's called an evergreen clause, unless the board goes in writing to overturn it. Ms. Bacamino said, you know, boards can be fleeting. Superintendents can change on their own volition or due to different relationships with the board. The board can be overturned by a vote of the public, or the board can, you know, somebody can leave on the board. Different boards have different flavors. I've seen that over the years. I think the potential costs too, because there's a lot of unanswered questions regarding if we were ever to be merged with another district, or if another district were to annex us, which we don't think is likely, and perhaps isn't likely, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions. And it's my understanding that indeed the administrators, that is especially the superintendent, we would still be liable for that contract. 5 years is a lot more money and a lot more responsibility, a lot more onus for us to undertake for a superintendent and for the potential cost. We're not saying it could or it is going to happen, but in any district that possibility is there. Going to MASB classes for a long time, they kind of preach a norm. Again, it is up to the local district, make no bones about it, it is up to us totally, but the norm that they kind of preach clearly is 3 years. 1 year they suggest maybe for somebody that's new, or if the board has concerns about the individual or something. 5 years, they feel, basically the message I received, that it is too long for some of the reasons I've enumerated, and perhaps some others. Macomb Intermediate School District Superintendent, I believe, makes 3 years. The state superintendent makes 3 years, and all of a sudden we're going to ask for 5 years. And I was told by somebody on checking on this that other districts were changing. So I did contact MASB, and they dug up the most recent information of districts reporting superintendent contracts to MASB. They said those were one year contracts, 13 districts, 2 year contracts, 17, 3 year contracts, 51, again the norm, 4 year contracts, 4, and 5 year contracts, 6. So the norm clearly, by any measure, is 3 year contracts. 1 year contracts and 2 year contracts actually more than double the 4 and 5 year contracts. So again, no matter who this individual was, past, present, or future, I think 3 years is inappropriate. I would have liked more information to provide input on this and discuss this, but seeing this as a motion and seeing that's my rationale. That's why
Any more discussion?
I have a question, I'm sorry, for Mr. Kozowski. What year was that information? Do you know?
2011, 2012.
Okay. And
Most recent.
Okay, all right, I didn't know how long that was. If I may?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, I believe that it is incumbent upon Board of Education members to be prepared, and if they have questions regarding these contracts, they have a responsibility to ask those questions. Have those questions been posed as of 3 p.m. on Friday to the administration? Mr. Kozowski?
This hasn't had a chance for us to dialogue, as you well know, Ms. Lindeman. My point, as I've already stated, which I alluded to earlier, is this was given to us by the committee, which I believe you're a part of.
Absolutely not.
And, well, okay, sorry for we were not told of who the committee was, or that was presented to us. But in any case, this was not shared with us by the committee. It was simply given to us on Wednesday. So I'm not, you know.
Okay, we won't.
And I believe the onus lies more so with the administration to provide rationale for changes they're suggesting. Thank you. Although this really is not a good chance again for us to do dialogue. That's not really what we're supposed to be doing here. So I'm going to leave it.
That's what discussion is back and forth.
This is more time. Well,
Any more discussion?
Yes, thank you. Mrs. Carlton, my estimation, has done more with less at our behest for the last 2 years at least. She is currently, this contract gives her pretty much nothing other than a little bit of job security. And I am fully amenable to giving her that security to continue to focus on the kids of this district. As far as questions or concerns, again, we get a board packet, we're expected to read it, and if you have questions, those questions should be answered for all of us, and I got nothing. And you can either email or on my, at my place this evening, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too agree that it was a time issue, you know, and whether it's, you know, you should have looked it over, you should have asked questions, this and that. I don't think that a contract, especially of 5 years for our head administrator, is something that is to be taken lightly, and it isn't a performance issue. I have to agree with Ms. Bacamino, it's not at all. I too don't agree with 5 years. I would certainly support a 3-year contract, absolutely. I would support an amended motion for that. I mean, when I got this, you know, I had to go back and find the last contract. That's fine, it's my job, I get that. But trying to find out the difference here, you know, the $700 automobile and related expensive, I kind of have an issue with that, but I will talk to Ms. Kultz privately. Expenses, I just have some concerns here, and I too will support a 3-year contract, but not a 5. And again, it is nothing personal, it is not a performance issue at all with Mrs. Kultz. I think she's doing a good job and everything, but I was just a little stunned when I saw the 5-year contract. That's all, thank you.
Any more discussion? Seeing none.
I know, I have some more, unless you wanted to go. Okay, I just want to kind of, we get our packets on Wednesday, and I would caution Ms. Lindeman in saying publicly that the board up here is not being due diligent in reading their information and backup. And because I have concern or question does not mean that I'm not taking my job seriously and reading all documentation. And I think what Mr. Gosowski, I won't speak for him, but because we come here and have concern, I don't understand where that came from. But nevertheless, I think Mr. Gosowski has made it really clear the norm is 2 to 3 years. And again, the one thing though that I found was concerning was there was a committee formed to review this contract, and we didn't get any information or data from the committee. So that would have been helpful to have when we got our packet on Wednesday. So I think we have to be real careful about some of the things that are being said up here. I, for one, appreciate any questions that are asked. And so I just want to make that clear. And I would have appreciated something from the committee. I don't even know who sat on the committee. And again, if it was amended to a 2 or 3 year, certainly it's not a job performance issue. But I think, and the bottom line is, we all want job security, absolutely. And this contract, I disagree with Ms. Lindeman when she said it gives Ms. Kultz nothing more than job security. This is a very nice contract, and it gives her, I feel, fair pay for the excellent job she does. So, and job security, I think we'd all like 5 years of job security, but we have to be realistic. You know what I mean? We have to be realistic. We just approved a list of teachers being laid off last meeting, and now we're being asked to approve something that in 3 years, there's so many variables that could change that I feel tying our hands is irresponsible. It's not fiscally prudent. Because the bottom line is, if things do change in 3 years, according to MSB, depending on who steps away from the position, or we could be held liable to pay out. And that is going to be a huge impact for this district. So that's all I have.
Yeah, and Mr. Vickers? Yeah, thanks, Shannon. I don't need you supporting me, though I appreciate that. I did find it interesting how Ms. Lindeman asked about the significant issue, like, is this relevant data, which basically contacting a couple of attorneys and a couple of calls to MASB, entails a little bit of work, but again, that's our job. I'm not sure if you do that, Dee, but I do find that a lot more relevant than who the superintendent was and this decision, and in terms of what's best for the district. So thank you.
Well, first off, seeing that the reviews were done back in March, I would hope that by now all board members would have taken the opportunity to meet with Ms. Coates to review her evaluation. Also, with Mr. Noonan's permission, I'd like to speak for the contract committee that was formed. Ms. Petrick, Mr. Noonan, and I met with Ms. Coates to discover her contract last month and felt comfortable with her request and language for her contract that includes no raises nor allowances, differences that is. In my opinion, after making a lifelong commitment to Centerline Public Schools, we should at least offer a 5-year commitment to Ms. Coates by supporting this contract, and that's why I'll be supporting in favor of it. As Mr. Kozowski said, there are 6 districts within Michigan that are with a 5-year contract. 4 of those 6 are being right here in Macomb County, including Warren Woods, Warren Con, Utica, and our buddy up there in Romeo that we were going to hire before we hired Ms. Coates. With that being said, I'm going to call a roll call vote. Ms. Puglisi, I said it right, Ms. Puglisi.
Someone wanting to amend the motion?
Okay, does anybody like to amend withdraw their motion?
Well,
Mr. Noonan?
Mr. Noonan made the motion, correct?
Yep, Mr. Noonan made the motion.
I'm happy to stick with the motion.
You have to vote on that one first, I believe, and then.
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Noonan, supported by Ms. Lindeman. Roll call vote.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes?
Ms. Lindeman? Yes. Ms. Bacamino?
No.
Ms. Petrick?
Yes.
Ray Puglisi, no. Mr. Gazowski?
No.
Mr. Vickers?
Yes. Motion passed 4-3. Item number 19, approval of the contracts. Number of individuals within the district are not covered by the master agreements. These individuals had separate contracts with the Board of Education. The superintendent is recommending the approval of the following contracts effective January 1, 2012.
Discussion. Just to clarify, Mr. Vickers or Ms. Phelps, all of these individuals on here are not covered by the master agreement.
There isn't any suggested change in any of these except to extend the contract.
With that in mind, I would like to call on Mr. McKinnon to explain the reasoning behind there was no changes or highlights in these contracts and the notified changes, if he doesn't mind addressing the issue.
I don't mind whatsoever, Mr. Vickers. These contracts were all extended for a period of time. It was a very simple change to the contracts. In addition to extending, some of them had started some of them had started after the year had already began, so they would include the word prorated. That was the only other change. So we took out the word prorated because they're going to be for a full calendar, or for a full year. So those are the only 2 changes. There's an extension, took out the word prorated in several of them. There were no highlights because I was not aware that we highlighted prior to Mr. Vickers coming and requesting it. I can certainly do that going forward, but it's my understanding that that hadn't been a practice that my assistant was familiar with. She had done it once. She hadn't done it in a couple of years, so I apologize. It was an oversight on my behalf, and I can do that in the future.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So we are at number 19, approval of the 1-year contract for Craig Anderson.
Discussion.
Mr. Kuzowski.
Yes, looking over these contracts, well, first of all, I have a question. When you dealt with the fact of the changes in the salary, there was no changes. On the duration, the way it's written, shouldn't duration on all the contracts indicate that the work year is 52 weeks, less vacation days, paid holidays, and the other category, which are basically personal days, shouldn't that personal days be included in that?
Our attorney, board attorney, Mr. Nivich, we had to revise all of the independent contracts last year because the language was varied from contract to contract. So Mr. Nivich looked at all of those contracts last year, and none of that, other than the changes that were indicated by Andrew, nothing had been changed. So he was the one that kind of helped reconstruct those contracts.
No, and I appreciate that. It just says that the work year is 52 weeks, but then it says less vacation days and paid holidays, but there's also less personal days and the other days that are indicated in the leave credit section, such as personal illness, serious illness, bereavement or personal business. So it's 52 weeks less those days, so it's good, correct?
Mr. Guzowski, that can certainly be added to the list if you want to do an exhaustive list. We could also put less days enumerated in this contract.
Well, however you want to word it, but it would pertain to those things as well.
We can certainly put that.
One other area, and this is a little more of a concern, the board a few years ago, and I don't know the exact time frame, but had expressed significant concerns due to economic constraints. Some of the issues we've talked about here today and the finance committee's talked about, and some of the issues that have come before us, about accumulating, at least for administrators or those not bound by CLA contract, accumulating time and basically, as it's stated here, accumulating them without limit. And I believe the board reached some level of consensus that other than the superintendent, these should be limited and or put in at all in future contracts. And these are basically considered, it's my understanding, legacy costs, which impact the district, as we all well know, not only the year that, I mean, for every year after they retire, because the retirement hinges upon this amount and it's supplemented every single year. And again, all the benefits to the employees would be great, but the amount of cost, as some districts have seen before, even ours, and I know this has been presented to us before, having to do with the retirement issue is extremely costly. And this has been an issue that the board has reached and discussed before.
Cindy, do you want to speak to that?
Any payouts are not subject to retirement, so they are, that's not gonna supplement the retirement for anybody that retires. Those are.
Sick days, the personal days?
Yeah, they are coded as payouts, they aren't, you cannot.
Has that been changed?
Not get retirement credit on those.
Because I know Dr. Pritch is an example of expressed, or again, I don't want to speak for her, she's not here, but it's my understanding of that impact of that. When did we make that change then?
I don't know when the change was made, but I know that the retirement system, you cannot code those, they do not count toward retirement.
Okay, does anybody recall the discussion on the board though?
I do recall having that discussion, and I thought that we were really clear on that, so I'm not really, so that happened, and we didn't, I guess.
Well, it's nothing we did, it was the retirement system. You can't, if you look online at things that are excluded toward retirement credits.
Well, I mean, since we're in discussion, can I broach that with you now? How much does that impact us at the present time or future foreseeable cost, even though it's not going to be an ongoing issue according to the information you're presenting now? The payouts, what kind of figures are we talking about here? If we
Well, you
multiply
have to use, in these individual contracts, you have to use your vacation days. You have to use them up. They don't carry over from year to year.
This reads, unused leave time may be accumulated without limit.
That's
Right.
But there is no payout for those in these individual contracts.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarification.
And before, I had some discussion, I'm glad that we're doing them, obviously we have to do them separately. And there are two that, and again, and I hope, well, it's not my job to, it's not a job-related issue, and it's not my job to evaluate these individuals. And I hope that Mr. Vickers had indicated the evaluations. These are not job performance issues. These are issues that are related to being fiscally prudent. And there are two of these contracts that in my opinion are duplicate services, and I will not support them. Obviously I don't want to go down the line and, you know, I want to be professional and related to the position. So as we go through these, I'm just giving reasons as to why. I think two of these positions are either duplicative service, and there's one that is so vague that I just have concerns about it personally, and I think it's a duplicate service as well, so.
So do I hear a motion if there's any other questions or concerns?
Mr. President,
Ms. Lindeman.
move that the one-year contract for Craig Anderson, Maintenance Executive, be approved.
Support. Discussion.
Motion made by Ms. Lindeman, supported by Ms. Petrick. Discussions.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. This obviously is not a 27-22 position. I see that he's a member of the bargaining team.
He is a director over 2722, so he actually works directly with 2722 members. He oversees them, evaluates them.
He sits on the board and bargains with them for the contracts. And...
No, our side.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that clarification.
That's right.
I don't get it.
He oversees that.
Thank
yes,
you.
so
And second question, did he retire from Center Line Public Schools?
he did, and we have some projects coming up this summer that will require his oversight. And because he retired, he can only earn a certain percentage of what he used to earn. So we would never, ever be able to replace a maintenance executive at the price that we pay for Craig, because we don't pay retirement, we don't pay some of those other things. So as a contracted employee, we're getting tremendous bang for the buck.
Okay, thank you.
Motion made by Ms. Lindeman, supported by Ms. Petrick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call vote, Ms. Puglisi.
Motion made by Ms. Lindeman. Ms. Lindeman.
Yes.
Support by Ms. Petrick. Ms. Petrick.
Yes.
Mr. Gazowski.
Yes.
Gray Puglisi, yes. Mr. Noonan.
Yes?
Ms. Bacamino.
No.
And Mr. Vickers.
Yes. Motion passed 6-0.
6 months.
6-1, I'm sorry. Next item.
Mr. President, move that the two-year contract for Augusta Saney, Systems Network Administrator, be approved.
Motion made by Mr. Noonan, supported by
Support.
Ms. Lindeman. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, 7-0. Next item.
Mr. President, move that the two-year contract for Mark Polchecki, Instructional Technology Support Specialist, be approved.
Support.
Motion made by Mr. Noonan, supported by Ms. Petrick. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passed.
Mr. President, move that the one-year contract for James Newman, athletic trainer, be approved.
Support.
Motion made by Ms. Petrick, supported by Ms. Bacamino. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Next item.
Mr. President,
Ms. Lindeman.
move that the one-year contract for Mary Nugent, Group Facilitator, be approved.
Support.
Discussion.
Motion made by Ms. Lindeman, supported by Mr. Noonan. Discussion.
Yes.
Ms. Bacamino.
We had discussion at the workshop a while back as far as these, individual contracts and, different things as far as with financial constraints. And it was explained to me that this position was going to be strongly looked at as far as bringing down some cost. And this is not a question. This is what I feel very vague. The contract doesn't stipulate anywhere, there's no clarity or detail on how many groups. The $320 per day stipend doesn't give any threshold how many groups is she required to have. What if students from Academy 21 don't show? Does she still get paid out $320? So potentially, there's not really any kind of, it's just very vague, and I wouldn't feel comfortable approving it. We have a very strong team put in place for crisis management. This is a precise example, in my opinion, of how easily things can get away from us. I mean, $320 a day, if there's one group or two groups or 5 groups, and if there's one group scheduled that day and no students show, we're still paying out $320 a day. So, and I do feel that this is a duplication of services as well, so that's where I am with that.
When Dr. Nugent was originally contracted with Centerline, she did some safety and crisis things. That has all been taken off of her plate, so the time has been greatly reduced. The need for this kind of facilitator is something I've spoken to the secondary principals, because that's primarily the spot where she comes in to support. And their feedback is with the students that we're currently receiving, there's a lot of need. We've cut back on our mental health staff tremendously. And so the need for her to come in and work with specific kinds of groups was felt necessary by the 2 buildings that are working with her. And I believe she runs multiple groups. Those are, when she's at the buildings, those are full days. The Academy 21, that just started toward year's end, and we had some substance abuse and things that needed to be really worked with, and some Dr. Nugent spent some time on the days that she was with, or the half day, actually speaking to parents, speaking with students, and trying to develop those groups. So initially we thought that there would be need for 3 or 4 groups for Academy. Very quickly she reduced that to 2 because of the difficulty in getting those kids in attendance. So that recommendation really comes from my professional team that feels like she really addresses some needs that can't be addressed through the reduced staff that are currently in their buildings.
I appreciate that, Superintendent Colts. Just to follow up with that, and I completely respect the recommendation from our building leaders, and in no way am I indicating that Dr. Nugent doesn't provide vital services. What I'm indicating is that if, and maybe you can answer, if Academy 21 students do not show, does she still get paid $320?
Most of what's happened with Academy thus far, I think we did have a limited period of time where they were actually trying to run the groups. As I stated, the front work that was done was establishing the kids that needed to be in those groups, just like it is in the secondary buildings. We reduced that down to 2 groups, and she's always had some students show. We had hoped for maybe 14 or 15, and that hadn't always been the case, but there's always been students in attendance from Range.
So potentially could a group be 2?
It probably potentially could.
Thank you.
Any more comments or concerns from the board? Motion was made by Ms. Lindeman, supported by Mr. Noonan. All in favor?
Aye. Nay.
Roll call vote, Ms. Puglisi.
Motion made by, excuse me, by Ms. Lindeman. Ms. Lindeman.
Yes.
Mr. Noonan.
Yes.
Ms. Bacamino. Mr. Gazowski.
Yes.
Ms. Petrick.
Yes.
Ray Puglisi, no. Daryl Vickers.
Yes. Motion passed 5-2. Next item on the list.
Mr. President, move that the 1-year contract for Janet Berlin, ROTC Army instructor, be approved.
Support.
Motion made by Ms. Petrick, supported by Ms. Lindeman. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Item number 12, layoffs. Mrs. Coates.
You're receiving enclosure 9. The administration will present the list of support staff to be laid off on or before this scheduled meeting.
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Noonan.
move that the personnel changes identified in closure 10 be approved with effective dates.
No.
No. Oh, layoffs. Move that the support staff identified in closure 9 be laid off effective August 18, 2012.
I'll support. Motion made by Mr. Noonan,
Discussion?
supported by myself. Discussion. Ms. Lindeman.
Thank you, Mr. President. As much as I respect the administration and everything they're doing to try to cut costs to the district and to be as lean and mean as they can, I find it extremely difficult to support laying off 13 members of our community who not only have worked for us for years, but also have contributed so much to our kids and touch them on a daily basis. So therefore, I will not be supporting this motion.
More discussion?
This is precisely what I was talking about. I won't be supporting this motion. We're laying off, as Ms. Lindeman so eloquently indicated, we're laying off staff that touch students every day, that virtually get paid. I mean, let's be real here. So I won't support it. And I'm very disappointed that we can put ourselves out there with a 5-year contract and turn around and lay off staff in our community that make so very, very little for the work that they do.
I certainly have to agree. I mean, this is why, $320 a day, and again, this is nothing, no performance issues, nothing personal. Paying a person $320 a day for maybe 2 children, car allowances, expense accounts, 5-year contracts, and we're laying off again. I didn't vote. I was the only no vote or whatever the case was last time with layoffs. I won't support it again. Thank you.
Any more comments? Roll call vote. Ms. Puglisi?
Motion made by Mr. Noonan. Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Support by Mr. Vickers. Mr. Vickers?
Yes.
Ms. Bacamino?
No.
Mr. Gazowski?
No.
Ms. Petrick?
No.
Ray Puglisi? No. Ms. Lindeman?
No.
Motion did not pass by 3-4. Item number 21, personnel changes. Identified
It was
enclosure
5-2.
10, we
Yeah.
identified new hires.
It was 5-2.
5-2, what did I say? Oh, sorry. My fault. Item 21, personnel changes and closures, as number 10 identifies all new hires, resignation, and leave requests.
Mr. President,
Ms. Lindeman.
move that the personnel changes identified on enclosure 10 be approved with effective dates as indicated.
Support with discussion.
Motion made by Ms. Lindeman, support by Ms. Bacamino. Discussion, Ms. Bacamino.
Yep, just a real quick clarification, assuming it's just a typo, but just, to approve something, I want to make sure it's concise. the newly being hired assistant varsity track coach that year should read 2012-2013 school year, not 2011-2012, correct?
Ms. Bacamino, if I may.
Yes.
It's my understanding that he is starting for the 2011-2012 school year, so this track month, this track season.
I have seen him
this
there,
month.
so, okay.
So,
Good.
that's my understanding. This name was brought to me from Mr. Bob Blair.
Mm-hmm.
He had done the hiring, so
Okay.
he got it on the personnel report to make certain that all of our
Good.
employees are approved by the board.
And he has been working with the field events, and he's doing a great job. So I thought I was just kind of helping out, but good, that's wonderful, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, I think he's done wrestling, he's done
Yes.
football, he's done everything.
Yes, you have, so thank you, I appreciate that, that
Thank
makes
you.
it very clear.
Any more questions or comments? Motion was made by Ms. Lindeman and supported by Ms. Bacamino. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Section C, information and inquiry. Item 22, administration, Ms. Coates.
Thank you, President Vickers. Congratulations to all the staff that was recognized this evening. It was quite a group. Our SAC tuition, we are recommending an increase next year. We will be meeting with our lead SAC aides and representatives from the union to continue our discussions for the program next year. We are looking at we've had presentations on the My Blissy grant. It's a grant that affords us about $24,000 in professional development for teachers. The ISD, when they launched the RTI, the focus was primarily on levels or tiers 2 and 3. What they discovered is there has to be a lot more focus on level 1. So this grant helps us with both differentiation academically within the classroom as well as behavioral kinds of things that will allow our students to be more successful. We currently have the floor of the Ellis Computer Lab under repair so that this continues to be a useful lab. We are going to use the Miller site as a food site. Last year when we moved that, we found that we had a lot of parents or families that weren't participating, and they shared that it was just too hard for them to get to the new site. So we're hoping that we can get those numbers up again. The IAM commencements are on May 24th at 6:30 at the Macomb Center. If any of our board members plan to attend, I ask that you get with me. All of the board members and I have been invited to sit on the stage and go forward when our graduates come forth to shake their hands the 24th at 6:30 at the Macomb Center. And if you are interested in participating, you need to wear your gown and your sash, collar, whatever that thing is. And just let me know that you plan to come and I will give you all the specifics. We have many, many exciting and rewarding programs going on almost every night in the district for the remainder of the year. We have ceremonies, award, honor ceremonies, student year-end celebrations. There's plenty for people to be participating in. Check our website if you can join any of our buildings for those exciting year-end events.
Thank you. Item number 23, citizens. General comments. Mr. Brzezinski.
Thank you. I have one. Matt Daniels of Centerline would like to address the board regarding support of the ECC.
Hello, all. I'll be quick. I wasn't here for the YMCA presentation, unfortunately, but I do want to say a couple words in support of Doris Culbertson and the ECC and what she's doing there. I've had a son go through the preschool program, and then 2 daughters that are currently in the Wednesday playgroup sessions. The work that's been done on the preschool level has gotten my center ready for preschool, ready for kindergarten on a social and academic level. He's been fantastic this year over at Peck. And for the girls, they have my 3-year-old ready and excited to go to preschool next year. My wife and I brought other families both in and out of the district to those playgroups, and the ones that are out of the district are going to continue to come back for those programs. So I think that's a good thing. Again, the YMCA is probably a fantastic organization. I'm sorry I missed theirs, but I think they're going to be hard pressed to duplicate the efforts that are put forth currently. So as sensitive as budgets are, as we're going through everything, I urge you to these are all reasonable efforts to keep them around and keep them funded. Thank you.
Ms. Coles, would you like to address that at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Daniels, for your comments. At this point, we are working with our own staff to maintain our current staff, and we're just making some internal changes. We appreciate it. And I'll let Mrs. Culbertson know of her praise.
Thank you. Item number 24, Board of Education Committee Reports. Policy Committee, Mr. Kozowski.
Yes, first of all, we have a policy committee this Thursday, the 17th at 5:30 p.m. We did have a meeting on April 24th. We tend to be a little lengthy because we are again covering whole sections of new policies with Neola and having a lot of good discussion. We have the first reading for purchasing, which is basically revised, and deleting the old policy, purchasing and projects, bid procedures. So if you have any questions or whatever, you can feel free to contact anybody, myself, or any member of the policy committee. And again, our next meeting is this Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. Kozowski. Finance, Ms. Petrie.
Okay, well, we had our finance committee meeting tonight at 5:30. And, of course, best meeting, but we are gonna lose some money that we had coming in last year, like Ed Jobs is gonna be gone. We won't get that. We'll have less coming in from the ISD special ed millage because of revenue being down from collection of taxes. And of course, our own revenue from taxes is down because homes aren't selling and they're valued so low. And our WIA grant has been reduced. The flat grant will be gone. So, but we do have some revenue with our Academy 21, and hopefully there will be more students in there, which it looks like there will. And the only thing we can kind of hope for is that we don't lose, that they don't pass through the cut in the property tax, because then we'll lose a lot of money there also. But we are working on the budget very diligently, and we will soon have it all set for next year.
Thank you, Ms. Petrie. Comments by board members, Mr. Noonan.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. And happy to congratulate all the girls swim team and boys swim team honorees. That's good. And all the Centerline Public School staff that was mentioned. Congratulations, that was very inspiring. I thank the partners in architecture for coming back and refreshing us on their findings. Those were valuable. Whether we go with partners in architecture or go with some other company, hopefully we'll do something along those lines and save a lot of energy in the process, and hopefully get the kids involved in that and get them excited about all the possibilities. And other than that, I think that's about it for tonight for me. Thanks. Next.
Mr. Kozowski.
Yes, congratulations again to our staff, which were recognized this evening. A lot of good things happening, and a lot of staff devoting a lot of time and attention to our kids, which is appreciated, as well as to the swimmers. I noticed in this little graduation ceremony history we got that it mentions Mr. Merle is asked to hand the diploma to his daughter. A few years back, I had mentioned at the board meeting, and the board really concurred that for infinitum, we would always allow that to any sitting board member who has gone through at least one full term. So I'm not questioning this, and I'm glad to know he is in line to do that. But hopefully in the future, any board member that's had at least one term will automatically have that right to do that.
Just for clarification, Mr. Kozowski, Mr. Vickers invited Mr. Morrell to do that,
Great.
and then Mr. Morrell just responded.
Thank you. So just an understanding, I'm sure the board would concur. Also, I understand this is the last taping of our meetings, and I'm not sure exactly why. We did get a note to that effect, but maybe we can get some supplemental information, Eve, from you in terms of the reasons, or at least a little note. Not particularly concerned about it, but intriguing. I'd like to kind of know why. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kozowski. Mr. Lacy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to congratulate our girls and boys swim team as well. Thank you to Ms. Maruka for a 21 Things presentation. I like that name, it's cool names. Look forward to commencements. Congratulations to all our 2012 grads. It's always an exciting time, and it's just always emotional, you know, when you hear the speakers. And you know, it's my third year I'll be doing this, and each time it's still just, I walk away from it just, you know, reflective in my years, and just, you know, for the best wishes for all those kids that went through it, because they can be tough, absolutely. Thank you to Partners in Architecture for their presentation. To appreciate your time. Nice to see you all again. Good luck to our retirees. And I want to say thank you to TV Warren as well. I know they've you know, taken a lot of time coming out here, and any questions that they ever had, they were just always professional. A lot of my friends I used to work with there at TV Warren, and just excellent staff. I'm going to brag on you guys. So thanks for coming out. I mean, you're editing everything is just wonderful. If there was audio problems, you took care of that. So I do appreciate that, Jen, Lori, and Lark, and the staff, and thank you to Mayor Founts as well for the opportunity to have you guys out there. Maybe, who knows what could happen in the future. Maybe we'll like to have you back out again. It's very nice to feel transparent too, and I want the community members to feel like we are transparent, and you can see everything we say and vote on and do. So that's very important to me. Just one last thing, I usually don't revisit my vote. I'll make this real quick. I just feel, you know, in our voting, my voting tonight personally, pardon me, you know, things can't get out of hand. I feel like I wouldn't be a responsible board member if I wasn't fiscally responsible and asking questions and finding out things and doing some research. You know, otherwise, why am I even sitting up here? Anybody could be up here. You know, if the public trusted me and elected me to do a job, and if I just, you know, don't ask questions and just, okay, you know, give everybody what they want and don't ask questions as far as, you know, finances, well, then I'm not doing my job. So I voted my heart, and that's how I felt. And thank you very much, everybody, for coming out here. It was great, everybody getting awards. And thank you to Mr. Morris. He's always just a pleasure whenever I go into Wolf, Mrs. Maruka, everybody in the high school. So you guys are really a blessing. So thank you. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Lacy. Ms. Baccarino.
Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Again, just to reiterate, congratulations to the swim team. Congratulations to all staff that was recognized this evening for their dedication to our students. It's greatly appreciated. I thought some of the testimonials were very powerful. Some of them really touched me. I was very impressed with Ms. Finazzo and how she kept saying, you know, with the people that she nominated, we're all part of a team here. And Donna and Dave are invaluable, and they're gone, but I wish they were here. Just a really great part of our team. So I was happy to see that. Really great part of the meeting. Again, Partners in Architecture, I'm going to do some follow-up with them. I have a few questions about the lighting issues. Ms. Maruka, thank you for your presentation. If I have any questions, I'll be sure to get with you. Thank you both for your leadership over there at Wolf Middle School. I have the highest regard for both of you, and just know that I do respect your recommendations and opinions, but I also have to look at everything. So just great to always see you guys. I see Mr. Morris out there in the track in a suit and giving the runners the high five and everything. So thank you for everything. Wanted to thank Mr. Daniels for coming forward with his support in the ECC. I think, is that everything? Also, yeah, TV Warren, thank you for coming and doing your work here with us. I wanted to thank all of them over at the communications department for your help. But I know that with Mr. Roman and his students, we'll be in good hands, because I can see he's got a mentor right there. So I know our students is a great opportunity for our students to do it as well. And I know if we have any questions, we can always count on on getting those answered. So thank you, TD Warren, thank you, Mr. Roman and the students over there. So that's a great thing too. Other than that, things are ramping up here. Hard to believe we're already so far into the school year and approaching graduation. Want to wish everyone a good evening and drive safely.
Thank you, Ms. Bacamino. Ms. Linden.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, and I'll reiterate comments of my colleagues here, congratulations to all of our student athletes who were recognized this evening. Josh Beckman, 4.237 grade point average, that's awesome. Congratulations also to all of our Spring Collaborative Leadership Award winners, it's very well deserved. Congratulations to Eve and all of our other admins on their new contracts. Congratulations to Wolf and Crothers for their QUA results, it's wonderful. Also thanks to Mike Malone, David Gasson, and Les Gilbert for their presentation and their stick-to-itiveness with Centerline Public Schools. Ms. Maruka for your 21 Things presentation. Mr. Daniels, very well spoken and very good points. Let's see, I had the opportunity this past Friday to go to the prom. My husband turned me down though for a date, but I didn't go alone. It was great, and I just want to let those kids know that they sure do clean up nice. I also, in the past couple of weeks, May is a really busy month for us, and I was able to attend the Top 10 banquet, the Macomb Academic Dinner, both of which were really great events and recognized some really amazing students. Want everybody to know that the spring band concert is tomorrow night at the Centerline High School Auditorium at 7 p.m. Also, the Warren Centerline Prevention Coalition is hosting the Parents Who Host Lose the Most Town Hall meeting on June 4th at 7 p.m. It's a panel discussion, question and answers for parents who, especially during graduation season, host graduation parties and the consequences that they might face were they to host a party where alcohol is involved with minors. Also, for anyone interested, the senior awards ceremony is May 25th at 7 p.m. If you have a chance, it's a really interesting presentation of all of our seniors and their amazing accomplishments as far as where they're going to school, what their scholarships look like, and what their plans are for the future. With that, I will say goodnight.
Thank you, Ms. Lindemann. Ms. Petrick.
Well, I would also like to congratulate all the students that got the awards, swim team boys and girls representatives, and also the girl from softball that was in the and also our staff awards. It's always good when the staff is recognized and when their colleagues, and it wasn't, you know, when their colleagues want them to have an award because they've done more than normal. Now, I was also at the Top 10 dinner, and it's always really nice, and it was nice. It's nice to hear when they each nominate someone who made a difference in their life, and it's not always a teacher, sometimes it's a staff member, and it's kind of nice to hear them tell how that person made a difference in their life. And sometimes you sit there and go, wow, you're only a senior? You sound pretty adult-like at that moment. And the band banquet was also really nice, and that was a nice thing. And I also want to remind everybody that the talent show is this Friday night at 7 o'clock. I don't know what's in store, but I think it'll probably be pretty good. And thanks to Mrs. Maruka for her presentation on the 21 things. And also thanks to Mr. Gilbert and the groups that partner for their presentation. And Mr. Daniels, thank you for your concerns of the ECC. And with that, I will say good night.
Thank you, Ms. Petrick. Thank you, Ms. Maruka, for your presentation on 21 things. Partners and Architect and Gilbert and Sons, thank you for their presentations. All the staff and the swimmers with their awards tonight. On gonna be real short. Everybody's pretty much said everything that I could possibly think of, so I'll leave it at that. Just thank you for coming out and staying late with us tonight. It seems to become a habit. Section D, future business items. Item number 25, meeting dates. As Mr. Kozowski said, we have a policy meeting May 17th, this Thursday, at 5:30 p.m. in the small conference area. Health Advisory will be meeting on Tuesday, May 22nd in the large conference area at 1 p.m. We have a finance meeting on June 11th at 5:30 in the small conference. We have a business meeting coming up on June 11th of 2012 at 7 p.m. here in the boardroom. And one more board meeting, business meeting on Monday, June 25th here in the boardroom. Item number 26, future agenda items. Hearing none. Item number 27, adjournment. Mr.
Move that we
Kozowski.
adjourn.
Support.
Supported, Mr. Kozowski made the motion, Mr. Shannon Facamino made the, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, meeting is over.